They spilled that everywhere. Good lordy. Welcome back to Fix Dish, everybody. Working on a Shuttlewagon today. And customer called in, said that it's in limp mode. So let's go ahead and get started and see what's going on. So before I even arrived on site here, I kind of made it a point to myself, since I knew it was in limp home mode, that I wanted to try to see if I could diagnose my way through it without even breaking out the computer. It's very tempting to pull out the computer and have it give you some answers. So here I'm just exercising some common sense troubleshooting skills. All right, we got some kind of error, and we're beeping because no air pressure. So let's see what we got here. I'm gonna air this up so I don't have to listen to that beeping. Okay, so we got some air in this thing. I don't have to listen to that alarm anymore. First things I notice, we do have some alarms. The def is showing 0 and it's blinking. So let's see if we have engine codes. Holy crap, we got 10 fault codes listed. So to back up here a second, I think it's very important that when you're doing troubleshooting is to take what I call an objective view. So you need to back up and look at kind of all the things that could tell you some information. It does help to be somewhat familiar with the machine to know if something's important or not. But I always have this adage that I like to use. It's prove what you can, research what you can't, and guess the least. It's not exactly the most philosophical saying that I've made, but it's one of those things where I feel like it keeps you on the right track. Holy crap, we got 10 fault codes listed. That's not normal. That's not very good. Oh yeah, there's a lot of systems down. This is a general D rate. We'll ignore that one. All the rest of these are valid codes. This is typically to have that many errors all at once. This is typically like a fuse blown, a wire broke, a corroded terminal, something like that. So it's probably going to be like your main trunk line or the fused part of the emission system, because I recognize a couple of these. These are emissions related, and that paired with, I got tire pressure warning. That paired with the def showing 0. I'm going to say this is emissions related. Well, we got a low tire. I have to air that up for them when I get done. All right, let's take a look, see what we find out. Okay, so def added here. That's already not a good sign. They probably spilled def everywhere. Oh my gosh, yeah. That's not a good sign. Okay. Get our cover moved off to the side here. Holy oh crap. That's some growth. That's caustic. They spilled that everywhere. Good lordy. Alright, so def tank. And then our def pump's in here, and there is a fuse box, because you can't see that, but there's a fuse box because that's where, let's see if I can see it, that's where all that stuff comes in. Not a good look, but yeah, what in the world? Holy shit. Yeah, that's not normal. Yeah, let's what in the, oh, it freaking melted on that turbo. Holy crap. So not good. Not good at all. Alright, so it's been a while since I looked at one of these, but I believe there's like a P-clamp that is supposed to be here that holds this kind of out of the way. I am pretty sure. Because I think it just kind of it floats like this. It looks like there may have been something there at some point. We got corroded out of there. Not sure. But that's why that fell and got burnt up. Yeah, well, now I got this disconnected. I'll have to de-pin this, fix the worst wires, and then see if we can make those codes go away. One of the most interesting things about being a field mechanic is you never really know what you're going to get yourself into day to day. And this is kind of a prime example. Like, they just said machine not working, and I come out here to find that a wire loom got melted on a turbo. Like, who would have thought? To make sure that we don't have any other issues, probably got some pop fuses in there, maybe. So I'll have to check that out too. And then we'll verify a repair. To de-pin these, it's I believe a Deutsch connector, and there's a tool to get these out, just like a little barrel style. This is just the cheapy plastic one for throwaways. But yeah, you just fit it in there, it wraps around the pin, and then you can pull it out. Not too bad. The loom material, this is good stuff, but holy crap is it hard to get apart. So I usually kind of use nippers and cut this apart here first, and then I'll use a razor blade on the rest of this, because razor blades aren't very good at cutting this stuff. This is extremely good rub resistant stuff, but obviously not turbo proof. So this stuff right here is extremely hard to take apart, but once you get it started, you can basically take your razor blade across the top of this like that and just kind of nip away towards the outside, just nipping away. I slide it between the wiring and the finger trap. Just slide it between the two. Just nip away towards the outside. Does anybody actually know if this coating material has a proper name to it? I've always called it Chinese finger trap just because that's kind of what reminds me of those little kids' toys where you stick your fingers in the ends and then try to pull your fingers back out. The heat damage is you need to take the tape off and separate all the wires. So yeah, I can see about 4 clearly damaged wires, but until you get these separated, these might be melted so badly that they're touching in other places. So I highly encourage getting all the wires taken off, all of them separated out, and inspect each one of them when it comes to looms getting heat damage like this. That way you don't miss anything, and hopefully don't damage any major components. Meaning like the bare wires touching each other and then potentially shorting out a motor or a computer or something like that. If you're not familiar with the purpose behind this, the twisted pairs of wires, they are twisted for a reason, and this is to cancel out any interference, because there are some heavy power wires ran through here, and you don't want to induce voltage. So in wrapping these up, it will actually reduce the chance of that happening. Without getting too deep into the weeds, all I'm basically pointing out is if you have to remove one of these wires, repair it, please retwist it back up. You could cause one of your own issues. So if you'd like to get into more details about the twisted pair wiring and the purpose behind it for CAN bus, post down below and maybe we'll do a video on that. So I'm going to separate it. I'm going to do this one first because it's actually broken. I don't want to start cutting wires and they get confused. You can see it's broken, but it is a twisted pair. So once I fix this, I'm going to twist it back up. So here's the different stages of the repair. Like I said, I de-pinned it. I have my focus. I have my heat shrinkable butt connector, but I also put a little bit more insulation over it because sometimes when you heat these, after you crimp them, the insulation will split, and I'm just trying to reduce the possibility of it touching anything inside of it once I loom this back up. So this is about what it looks like when you're pulling the wire out. You'll just shove this tool down the sides of the weather pack and just kind of work it down in there and pull the wire out pretty easily. But that's what it looks like when it's down inside there. So you just kind of run this down along this wire. Just kind of shove it down in there. Sometimes you got to work it a little bit. You just pull up. Just like that. So far I got my green wire that's broke. I re-twisted twisted it back up in that pair. And then I'm going to take this yellow out. Now the yellow is not broken, but it like melted the insulation kind of thin. So I'm going to just put a piece of insulation over it, because I did do a pull test just to see if that wire's broke. And it's not broke. So I'm just going to put a piece of insulation over it. And this wire I took out here, I put a piece of insulation over it because there was like a strand or two of wire shown here. Again, not broken, just exposed. Now don't forget, we just observed the melted wire harness. We don't even know if this is going to fix our issue yet. I feel like it's fairly likely, considering that I did find one clearly broken wire, but 10 codes, one broken wire, I guess we'll have to find out. And the one right next to it, it didn't make it through, but it did kind of melt that just a little bit. So I'm going to put a piece of insulation over it just to be safe. Never know. I went through and I separate each one of these, and I looked it over. I didn't see anything with exposed wires or any more damaged insulation. I only had to fix one broken wire, and then put some repair insulation over a few just so they didn't touch each other. I got it plugged in. We're going to go see if we got codes. If you guys are into the diagnostics or repair videos, make sure you give this thing a like. If you're not already subscribed, make sure you are. Over 90% of my viewers are not subscribed at this point, so make sure you hit that button. And let's continue to see if this fixed it. Let's see what we got going on here. So we are reporting def now. It's blinking red. We'll have to look. This might be because there hasn't been a cycle that's occurred yet since the fault. Let's see what codes we have active. 3. So we went from 10 down to 3. So we've eliminated 7 codes. That's D rate, and those are still emissions related. Okay, so since I've started it, my def is no longer blinking. My stop has went away, but I have gotten some control authority back of throttle where I had nothing before. Let's look at my codes. I'm down to 1 code, which is 3218. So my D rate went away. I gotta see what 3218 is. Over here on quick serve, got my engine serial inserted. It'll search my fault code of 3218. Search that. NOx sensor after treatment. You know, I think this is one of those codes that doesn't actually go away until it gets the cycle the first time, because NOx is not like a key-on function. It's it's something that only happens at temperature. So I'm gonna let that run up to temp to see if it goes away before I look much further into this. So while I was pulling that code up on the computer, I was letting the machine run, and by the time I came back into the cab, this is what I found. Now it looks like I have no more alarms and no more codes. So yeah, that was one of those codes that won't go away until it gets its first cycle of the emissions coming on. So we are currently sitting fixed. Now I can loom up my wire and we can get out of here. All right, got it loomed back up. Got it zip tied. I put 2 just in case. But this is a nice solid point, because that's where that hose goes into the turbo. And then even if this got hot and sagged, and I'm pushing on that, it ain't touching nothing. So I got that loomed up out of the way pretty good. There needs to be like a clamp up here. I was looking at the book on that. There's no clamps up there, but there probably should be. Anyways, we're plenty away from any exhaust, and that way we don't have a reoccurring failure. Well, I would say that's a job well done. We got the machine up and running. Didn't have to break out the computer for anything. A little bit of common sense. We were able to get it narrowed down pretty quick. I will say though that when I'm all done, I have to go back in there with the computer anyways and delete all the history. That's just common courtesy to the next guy / probably myself. Delete all the codes that have populated due to that error. That way, if you ever have to go through and diagnose something, you're not leading yourself down a wild goose chase. And plus, you can see if any issues subsequently show up after said repair. Anyways, that's all done for today, and we'll see you guys next time on Fixed-ish.